Thanks for joining us so early this morning. We really appreciate it. I know this is day 3 of a very active conference, so we appreciate you attending. But I want to welcome you to our session. It's called Maximize Your Revenues, Marketing and Delivering Your Solution via the AppExchange. My name is Sarah Varney-Bright. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for the site. And speaking with me today, I have a great panel of partners who have had very successful listings on the AppExchange. And I also have, I'm fortunate to have Teen Zoe with us as well to talk about his online billing solution from Zora. So before we get started, I must show you the Safe Harbor Agreement. You've probably seen this a few times at this point. You could probably recite the speech yourself. But as I must remind you, Salesforce is a publicly traded company trading under the ticker CRM. As such, we recommend that you only make purchase decisions with regard to our stock based on publicly available information. And if you'd like to read this Safe Harbor Agreement in its entirety, you can do so on our website at salesforce.com. So just to run through the agenda quickly, I'm going to give you a brief overview of all the different ways you can optimize your presence on the AppExchange. I'm going to turn it over fairly quickly to our panel. They've got some great perspective on how you can really maximize and optimize your listing. And then we'll close out with a presentation from Teen Zoe of Zora about how you can close your sales cycle with online billing. And then we'll open it up to Q&A. So as I mentioned before, I'm Sarah Varney-Bright. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for the AppExchange. I've been with Salesforce for about 3 years now. I'm dedicated to the AppExchange. I'm a AppExchange lifer. So hopefully I'll be able to share some of my perspective with you today. For those of you who are brand new or prospective partners, this is just our overview slide of the site. The AppExchange is our on-demand marketplace for cloud computing solutions. We have over 1,000 listings on the site now. Just in this past September, we also added service listings. When the site was founded in 2006, the site was really only open for applications listed by our ISVs. We've now extended this functionality for our service partners. So systems integrators, business consultants, custom app development partners can have listings just for their services. As you can tell by the number of reviews, our community is highly engaged. I can't tell you how much customers love the AppExchange. You'll hear things like, the AppExchange makes me look like a hero to my boss. The AppExchange is my best friend. Customers really love the site and rely on it heavily as a resource. And partners have found success here too. We're very proud to say that we pass over 12,000 leads to our partner community on a monthly basis. It's not just about marketing. We are always assessing our product roadmap to make sure that it aligns with your success. 2009 was a huge year for us. We added a lot of features. If you've been on the site at least since the beginning of the year, you've probably seen some major changes. We fully redesigned the site in March. We rebuilt it on sites, which was very exciting. We added some really cool features. We added an app comparison matrix. We provided the ability to let you cross-reference other listings that you had on the site. We made major improvements to our filtering and search capabilities. We streamlined the publishing process, added service listings, as I mentioned. And we recently just launched landing pages, which is a great way for newer customers to have a little bit more context when they're searching for particular categories of apps. And also 2010 is lined up to be a big year as well. As you can see from the proposed features on the right, we've got our work cut out for us. But we are, the point here is that we're constantly committed to making sure that the site evolves with your needs. So I quickly want to walk through 5 major points that I would like you to think about when looking at your AppExchange listing. Admittedly, some of these are pretty down in the weeds, but I'm basing it on a lot of the feedback we get on a weekly basis, and assuming that if I'm getting these questions quite regularly, that many of you in the audience are probably having some of the same questions or issues. So the first topic I want to hit on is search. I'll try to explain this as clearly as possible. Search algorithms aren't always the easiest thing to sum up succinctly. But basically, the way that our search works, we first look at the title of your listing. and then we look at all of the remaining fields of your listing. So you want to make sure that you keep your title very short and relevant, and then also you want to incorporate all of those other keywords into the body of your listing. So I use this example here on the left. It's, or on the right, I'm sorry. It's a little bit dramatic, but I've seen a lot of partners try to put everything that their solution does into their listing title, thinking that that'll help their ranking in search, when it actually works against them. So, stay true to your school, really focus on what your app delivers, and keep your title short and sweet. Second point I want to make is around categories. Where I see partners run into challenges here is mainly around the industry solution categories. For example, you might see an email marketing solution in the financial services category. So email marketing, yes, it might help a financial services company, but is it really built specifically for the financial services industry? Probably not. So again, be honest with yourself and select those categories that are really, truly relevant. This will only help the overall ecosystem. The second point I want to make is around all of the rich content features that we deliver to you as listers on the AppExchange. The yellow section you see in this pie chart and the orange section represent screenshots and data sheets. These are two of the most popular pieces of content that customers access on AppExchange listings. And this shouldn't be as a huge surprise. Both of these types of content can be accessed before you have to fill out a lead form. But I just want to call that to your attention because this is a low-hanging fruit that customers seem to really like and take advantage of. So make sure that you've got those screenshots and data sheets up on your listing. Also, it's important to provide the maximum amount of trial options. If you're an app provider and your app lends to creating a test drive, have a test drive and a demo. If you're a service partner, make sure that you have a demo as well. The only two ways that you can collect leads as a service partner is to have a Learn More button and a demo button. So if you're not taking advantage of that demo button, you're cutting your lead opportunity in half there. Also, as I mentioned before, we launched the functionality. This is on the app side specifically. We launched the functionality earlier this year to cross-reference other listings. So if you have multiple listings on the AppExchange, make sure that you're cross-referencing them on each of your listings. And that can be all set up through the publishing console of the AppExchange. And finally, make your listing your own. We give you the ability to create a customized banner, to upload your logo. Make sure that you have those personalized touches uploaded so that you can really give the listing your own branding and your own look and feel. So the next hot topic I want to talk about are customer reviews. Customer reviews are invaluable to our customer base. You want to make sure to set up a process to systematically collect these. All of our panelists are extremely good at getting reviews for their listings, and we'll be asking them that later, how they achieve that as part of the panel discussion. Encourage, when you are soliciting these customer reviews, encourage them to write detail. I think customers can pretty easily tell when a marketing manager has gotten a hold of a customer review and massaged it to sound a little bit more like their own speak. So to the extent that you can, don't coach people in their reviews. And also, we provide the ability to provide the ability for you to respond to inaccurate posts. So if someone has posted something about your app that you had fixed in a subsequent version, for example, comment on that review so that it doesn't hurt the adoption of your application. That's why we put that feature there, and you should take advantage of it. My next tip is more around lead follow-up. You want to set up a process to automatically follow up with leads generated by your AppExchange listing. Some partners just set up automatic workflow so that an email fires off. I've also seen some partners, do some really creative things. I have an email up here actually from, not to call it a specific partner, but Scott Hemeter of AeroPoint sends out this email when someone installs or someone test drives or demos one of his applications. And what he's doing here is actually calling out a number of his other applications that he has on the site. So this is a great example of using this opportunity not only to promote the app that someone was looking at, but also to cross-sell a number of your other applications. And also you want to be as responsive as possible, obviously. If you can, follow up in a reasonable time frame, the chances of that lead still being hot are going to be higher. And finally, I would recommend exploring our sponsorship opportunities. We offer 2 opportunities for paid sponsorship on the site. You can buy a homepage ad that, we open that space to 10 partners a quarter. So the visibility there is pretty significant. And also, we have sponsored search that you can purchase as well on a quarterly basis. And a couple last points. I get a lot of questions from newer partners saying, there's a lot of partners on the site now. How do I make myself known as a newer partner? And these are some of the pieces of advice I typically give them. There's some ways that you're automatically featured on the site, being a newer partner. Right from the homepage, we have a latest listings tab, and your app will automatically appear there. We also have a Twitter handle. It's called AppExchange News. Every time a new app is listed, we tweet about it, so that goes automatically out to our community of subscribers on Twitter. And then we also have the App of the Week blog, and we really use this to feature newer apps that have been listed in the last 2 to 3 weeks on the site. I also encourage you to issue a press release. Within the partner portal, we have templates which walk you through exactly, how to word that joint announcement. And I encourage you to engage with the community. Our user group community is very strong. I encourage you to reach out to the leaders there and let them know about your new solution. I encourage you to blog yourselves. Set up your own Twitter handles. It's a great way to get the buzz out for your application. There are a lot of Salesforce admins out on Twitter looking for ideas for new applications. And set up a Facebook fan page. This is just another way that people today are searching for information about new applications. And a lot of this content that I've reviewed, over the last 10 minutes is available in the partner portal. So I highly recommend that you go, if you have your partner portal login set up, I highly encourage you to go to the site and to download some of these assets. It walks through all of the parameters around search and some of these listing best practices that I've just walked through. So that is my overview. I now want to open it up to my panel, and we'll start with introductions. The first panelist I have is Dave Dahlberg, who is the CMO of Model Metrics. He has 10 years of experience in CRM and marketing automation, obviously a ton of experience working with Salesforce, and he is a demand generation and marketing measurement expert. So, Dave, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about Model Metrics and your experience on the AppExchange.
Sure. Excuse me. Sure. Thanks, Sarah. Model Metrics is a services partner of Salesforce.com. We've been a partner since 2003, done over 1,000 Salesforce CRM and Force.com implementations. We have a number of products on the AppExchange that we don't necessarily sell for product purposes. We're a services company, so we use product listings to drive service interest and service revenue and demonstrate our technical leadership on the platform. There's a couple, Cloud Converter and eGiving, we actually just re-announced this morning. There's several others. Search to Go, for example, demonstrates kind of our mobile expertise from a development perspective. And then we obviously have our service listing as well, which is relatively new, as that came out just a few months ago.
Great. Our next panelist is Gretchen Dickenicker. She's the Alliance Manager at Genius. She has over 12 years of experience working with early-stage on-demand software companies, and she has 3 years of experience working with two of our very successful partners on the AppExchange, Genius and EchoSign. So, Gretchen.
So Genius is an email marketing and marketing automation solution. What's unique about Genius is that we align sales and marketing activities in real time. Basically, at the core of it is our Genius tracker. You click through a link, we immediately begin tracking that prospect's visit on your site and delivering that information in an actionable way to the sales rep right on their desktop. What's new for this year is we're adding social media automation on top of that, taking that traction functionality and adding it higher in the funnel where more of your conversations are starting today. And we've had a lot of success on the AppExchange. Thanks very much, Sarah.
Great. And our third panelist is Pauline Wood-Thorogood. She's the VP of Marketing at Inside View. She has over 15 years of B2B technology marketing experience. Most recently, she was the SVP at Website Story, which was acquired by Omniture. And she's a digital marketing expert. So with that, I will turn it over to Pauline.
Thanks, Sarah. Inside View is a sales intelligence company. We aggregate and analyze social and traditional data from over 20,000 sources, and we deliver the resulting intelligence directly within Salesforce as a mashup. So the salespeople, when they go into their account views, opportunity views, etc., they also get the entire information that SalesView delivers right, within Salesforce, which makes us a very popular application. We were selected as the best sales intelligence application last year. We have, as Sarah mentioned, we definitely get a lot of reviews. We have over 170 reviews on our products. We've been working with Salesforce on AppExchange since 2006, and one of the interesting things about our product that we offer two flavors, what we call a freemium model. We have a free product that's available to everyone. It's not a free trial. You have it, once you download it, you have it forever, limited to functionality. And then you can upgrade to our Pro or Team versions of our product for additional features, which provides you not just the free information that we aggregate from the web, but a lot of the paid content as well.
Great. So my first question for all of you, and this is pretty general, what is your number one tactic for generating buzz for your AppExchange listing?
I have the mic, so I'll go first. I'd say it is the freemium model, and this really helped with the recent AppExchange redesign, because now we can list both our free product and our paid product. Prior to the redesign, we only had our free product up there. Now we can actually do the cross-referencing. And of course, with the free product, we have a ton of buzz around it. It often gets, to be one of the very top picks in AppExchange. So people look at it, and then they realize that they can get even more functionality with our paid product. So that has made an enormous difference for us.
So we've had a lot of success. Our sales reps actually take our Best Demand Generation App of 2008 award and use that constantly. We also leverage it in being able to direct people. We have almost 100 reviews as well on AppExchange, and nothing speaks better about your product than your customers. So our salespeople leverage that on a daily basis, and that's probably one of the biggest secrets to our success.
For us, and I think you'll find this to be consistent in all these questions as a services company, where our answers are always a little bit different. When it comes to the products, if you will, that we have on the AppExchange, they are, I think, with the exception of one, free, and they're targeted toward developers in a lot of cases. So this Cloud Converter application is targeted toward developers to help people actually implement and configure Salesforce. And so our developers are actually very active blogging. So that ends up driving a lot of interest back and forth from the AppExchange to our website, and then hopefully the call to our sales guys.
Great. So let's go back to the review piece. I know both Pauline and Gretchen mentioned that in their overview of what has made them successful. Tell me a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit about how you go about collecting those reviews and how what process you use to make sure that people review your solution.
I'd say it really takes a village. The entire company is very focused around collecting reviews. So whoever interacts with the customer, salespeople, account managers, myself, rest of the marketing team, everyone, Whenever we realize a customer is truly happy, we know that they're actually going to give a good review, and that's important to qualify before you ask them for a review, to actually catch them at that moment in time when they're excited and say, could you please go, here's the URL, please go, could you write us a review? And, most of the time they do. That's why we have over 170 reviews, and it has made a huge difference because a lot of the sorting on AppExchange is based on popularity, and downloads and reviews and things like that make a big difference in terms of how people can find you.
I echo a lot of what Polina said. It definitely takes, and you do need a few systems in place to follow up. People, even if they're really happy, they might not have a minute, but if you remind them to go back. The only thing I would caution against is be very careful about trying to offer incentives to your customers around it. You do want to have quality over quantity of reviews. So I have seen a few partners stumble with that a little bit by offering a free giveaway or something, and the quality of their reviews suffers from it. So that would be my only word of caution.
I completely echo that sentiment, actually. For our service listing, which is relatively new, we took a little bit different approach. We wanted to get as many reviews as we could, especially leading up to Dreamforce. And so we did offer an incentive to our employees to reach out to our customers who they knew were happy. And these were our employees who were either the project managers or the individuals who were responsible for the sales cycle at those customers, and to engage them in a conversation about filling out a review. So we offered the incentive to our employees, and we went from 0 to 36 in a week by doing that. That worked really well.
Great. And I'm going to keep it with you, Dave, actually. Can you tell the audience a little bit, with service listings being new, can you tell the audience a little bit about your experience getting your service listing up and how that's helped you better position model metrics within our ecosystem? Sure,
absolutely. I think the number one advantage or benefit that we see is it is a validation or an acknowledgement of the work that we can do as an implementation provider or a custom development shop on the Force.com platform. People are looking for that validation. It's hard to point to something, a product, for example, and say, look at all these great features. It's a very different sales process. And so for us to be able to go to the AppExchange and say, look at all these positive reviews, I think we actually do come out number one in service listing reviews right now when you conduct that sort on the service listings. That's just a great validation for us. That's the main benefit.
Great. So for any of you, what are some tactics you've used to optimize search on your listing?
I'm seeing a trend here. As I mentioned, what we do is we aggregate and analyze content from, social and traditional sources, over 20,000 of them. Well, there are a lot of really good names out there. So one of the tactics we use is these are all companies we work with, we're partners with, in some cases we pay money to. So we leverage those relationships and those names in our listing, and that makes a big difference. We obviously talk about what we do, that's important, but we also talk about our relationships for additional lift in our listing of how people can find it.
Okay. Next question. And what are some of your best practices for lead follow-up? Has anyone cracked the code on this?
Well, we have we drink our own champagne.
Sure.
So all of our leads come in through Genius, and they're automated, so they get sent to our lead qual reps in real time. They pop up on their tracker. The lead qual reps know if it's come in through AppExchange. They have our highest conversion rate, so they're the first people that they call. Makes life really, really easy for me.
Great.
I would also add that the type of lead that comes in, whether it's a test drive or if they view a demo, there's definitely a stack ranking in terms of prospects' receptivity to receiving that call. And if, for example, it is a test drive, that's one of the things that we've found has been the highest conversion factor. And those guys, call immediately as soon as you can.
I definitely agree with David. And what we do is we have a very detailed lead scoring method. And as Gretchen indicated, the leads we get from AppExchange are some of our highest quality leads. So they actually score much higher. So the salespeople immediately go to those in terms of follow-up. But it's really establishing a very good follow-up system in your company for all your leads, figuring out your overall score depending on where leads come from, how you want to follow up with them, and go after your highest quality leads first. And in our case, those are definitely AppExchange leads. So I'd say lead scoring is key.
Great. And what are some of your best practices for interacting with Salesforce AEs?
Start again. So I have a rule that if you cannot engage in a meaningful way, you cannot pick up the phone. So our reps, they just have to ask themselves first, would I take this phone call? Because the AEs are incented to sell Salesforce. So if you're going to call them and you're going to take up their time, you need to be bringing them something meaningful. And if you're not, then don't pick up the phone. So that's our.
Honestly, that is the core of our selling cycle. As a services partner, again, it's a little bit different model, and that is the, outside of everything else that you can do, the number one way to succeed as a salesperson for a services company in this ecosystem. And the accelerators and the products that we have on the AppExchange also demonstrate to the Salesforce sales teams our technical leadership.
I have to echo Gretchen's point here. It's really about engaging people appropriately. And I think since we're a software company versus services company, we don't have necessarily as many reasons to engage with them. But it has to be for a meaningful reason. It has to be for a large enough opportunity where it's going to benefit both sides. And the bonus we have is we do have a lot of ex-Salesforce AEs in our company, so we have a lot of relationships, and that helps. But that's not necessarily scalable.
Okay, two last questions. Are any of you using social networking tools, and what are your recommendations as far as what's working? And
Okay, yeah, so we've launched our Genius URLs. We're calling them the girls. I don't know if you've seen us all running around in our T-shirts, but we've taken our tracking technology and taken it into the cloud. So basically we're tracking that conversation from where it's starting on Twitter and Facebook and allowing people to funnel that into the thing. So we're capturing their Twitter handle. We're building a profile over time. We're also telling the marketers where the conversations are coming from, where the best conversations are happening. So instead of kind of throwing everything out there and seeing what sticks, we're giving you a little bit of visibility, and then we're feeding it into your marketing automation and ultimately to your salespeople. So again, drinking our own champagne. Sorry to be a commercial, Sarah.
all right. Anyone else? I mean, you talked about blogs, Dave, I know.
We, of course, have our own Twitter handle. We have our blog. A lot of us in the company also, tweet separately as well. We all have a lot of partners, so we engage with them. They mention Inside View through a lot of the activities we do with them, such as webinars, seminars, shows. So it's really about staying in touch with a lot of the influencers out there and making sure that you work with them, they work with you, and just getting the buzz not just from you, but through the bigger community that you work with. So that's what I would recommend. Otherwise, it becomes too much of a commercial, but if it really comes from multiple sources, then it's the true social conversation that's taking place.
Okay. And then just one final question. If you had one piece of advice for someone who's brand new as a partner to the AppExchange, what would that be?
So what I recommend, and Sarah is not paying me for this, is go to the partner seminars. Honestly, you will get at least one little new bit of information of something that you can do. I've been doing this for 3 years, and every day, every single one, I come away with one new thing, and I go back and I do it, because I think the biggest mistake a new partner can make is put your listing up, build it out, and think you're done. And this is an ongoing process. It's an iterative process. They're giving you new features all the time. Use them. Build your profile. Build your ranking. Build your visibility, because it's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that you can just do and leave alone and not go back to it. So,
I think that's very true, and I think that you don't realize what you don't know. There may be a list of features, a list of things that you can do on your AppExchange listing, but you don't realize how well you can do it and how you can tweak it to make it that much better and that much more effective. I mean, an A/B testing type of approach may be something that you want to try trying to implement and figure out what is working the best. Is there a one test drive over another that's working the best? Is there a particular data sheet versus white paper that seems to be resonating the best?
The redesign that took place in March made an enormous difference for us. Seriously, and we were able to learn about it, understand all the different features that came with it, and update our listing within a week of the redesign. And the activity on our listing more than doubled based on taking advantage of a lot of those features. So it's about finding out all the new things they're adding. I don't expect it's going to be that kind of advancement each time, but there are lots of new things that are coming up, and finding out about them and incorporating them into your listing and then watching. My with last company, website story analytics company, so my mindset is always, analyze, create benchmarks, and optimize based on that information. So I think that's how I approach marketing in all ways, and there's no question improving your listing on AppExchange is the same concept. See where you are, do your A/B testing, and then keep improving, and always find out what new features they're adding in, because it's made an enormous difference for us.
And a great way to find out about any live presentations that we're hosting is through the partner portal again. So I encourage you to log into the portal and take a look at our calendar to see any of those upcoming webinars that we're hosting. So with that, I'd really like to thank my panel. I'm going to invite Teen Zoe up on stage now to talk about Zora. Also, please save your questions for the end. We'll open it up to the panel, to Teen, and also I have Ryan Ellis, our product manager, here to answer any of your questions about the site. So with that, I'd like to welcome Teen.
Thanks, Sarah. Is this on? Can you guys hear me? Well, thanks everyone. It seems like everywhere you look these days, this whole concept of an app store is really prevalent. And so obviously Apple kind of owns that name now. If you think about App Store, you probably think about the iPhone App Store. But everybody's got an app store. Android has one, Verizon has one, the Palm has one. This was actually a cover week and a cover story in Business Weeks a few weeks ago. Yahoo's got an app store. SAP's got an app store or an app catalog. Taleo's announced one. And which is really cool because I think, we like to think that the start of all that was really in the summer of 2005 when at Salesforce we launched the AppExchange, and that was one of the projects that I was spearheading in 2005. And, way back then we had a vision that led to the proliferation of app stores today. And in fact, if you go to www.appstore.com, you'll actually find yourself, and I encourage you guys to do this, redirected to the AppExchange, because Salesforce actually owns the URL appstore.com. And so that sort of begs the question, well, why was it called AppExchange and not App Store? Because in 2005, we had no idea that this idea of building community of partner applications was going to be such a critical concept. Originally, we called it the AppExchange because the whole idea was to have customers actually share applications and share their custom objects and share their custom applications. And so the start of it was actually, we decided to call it AppExchange instead of App Store because that was the focus at the time. And so really now, fast forward, 2005 now to 2010, 4.5 years, and if you look at the AppExchange and you're finding yourself successful in dragging and influencing a lot of leads to the AppExchange, and it's just been a huge success, you're probably asking yourself a lot of key questions. Right? You're asking key questions in terms of, hey, there's all these things that I now want to do with the AppExchange that are more App Store-like. So for example, how do I create multiple editions to target different segments? Salesforce has multiple editions. How do I do that, and how does the AppExchange allow me to do that? How do I capture free trials from my listing? And then how do I convert it? How do I offer an easy way to convert that into a paid subscription, take advantage of the freemium model? How do I take credit card orders? I can take credit card orders on Apple's App Store. How do I do that on the AppExchange? And how do I do that in a compliant way so I'm not storing credit cards in clear text in a custom object, but how do I make it PCI compliant? And then how do I manage everything after that? How do I manage the change orders, the upgrades, the requests for 2 additional licenses, and so on and so forth? And how do I get a dashboard of my entire business? And one of the things that we know from Mark's book is these are all critical successes or critical strategies to be successful, but you really need an infrastructure to do so. You really need a platform. You really need a system that allows you to do this. And you really need a very, very different system than what you might get from a traditional accounting package or a traditional ERP system, such as an SAP, such as a QuickBooks, such as a Microsoft Dynamics. All great systems, but they don't really help you with to manage a subscription lifecycle and a billing type of process. And so what we learned at Salesforce was you had to invest massive amounts to build the right systems in order to execute the strategy. And very comparable to this quote from Charlie Peters, CFO of Red Hat, who also has a subscription-based business model. And Charlie here last year said he's actually spending $2 million a quarter, and this is a 2.5-year project. And so he's going to have to spend $20 million to redesign all his system, in his words, taking a lead, developing a quote, tracking entitlements, doing the invoicing, doing the collections, and then managing the entire entitlements all the way through the renewal process. And all the systems that they have today were designed for a much smaller company, for about a $70 million company or so. They're $250 million. They want to get to $1 billion, and they can't do that without a massive investments in their systems. And so that's what inspired a small group of us to really peel off of Salesforce to say, we've learned really what it takes to build the systems that are necessary to scale a subscription-based business to $1 billion and beyond, and how do we take that knowledge and best practices, and how do we productize it? And so that's what we've been doing over the last 2 years. In 2008 specifically, we launched a series of products around billing, around payments, around the product we call Z-Force to manage that quoting, ordering, and renewal process, and then exposing it all as a platform, as a set of APIs that, no surprise, looks and feels like Salesforce.com's APIs, so that you've got access to it from a developer standpoint. And then in 2009, we've been really taking this technology and focusing on specific application development segments. So Facebook as an example, online media as an example, and then here today really around the AppExchange. And so the original vision of the AppExchange, and you can even add ideas in front of this, was to say, how do we help companies really find ideas, build their products, and then have a place where you can market your products? Well, we want to complete that process. We want to add a monetization arrow, if you will, at the end of that to help you price your editions, quote your editions, take orders, manage subscriptions, and then manage the whole recurring invoicing, collections, and process. And so welcome you to take a look at the product. Really quickly, an overview. What is it? It has a whole bunch of things, but what are the 5 core things? Really a product catalog that allows you to design through an interface very similar to creating custom tabs and custom objects, right? It's all point and click, but you're designing price plans. You're designing editions. And so you're designing your professional edition, your enterprise edition, your light edition, your basic edition. You're designing what kind of fees you want. So it doesn't have to be a per user fee. It could be a one-time setup fee. It could be a per transaction fee. It could be a per email fee, whatever it is that you need to do. And here's an example of a customer that we worked with, Marketo, that started off with 2 editions, and already it was getting a little bit too hard to manage. And by working with us, they've been able to launch 3 to 4 editions after that to really implement that edition strategy that's so critical to the success of SaaS. Talked about freemium trials and freemium models. Well, how do you do an automated trial? So if you go to CVS Dude's website today, they actually give you 2 options. You can buy, or you can take a free 30-day trial. If you fill out the 30-day trial, that all goes into our system. After 2 weeks or 30 days, whatever it is, there's a prompt to enter your credit card, or you can even take the credit card information up front and give them a 30-day period where if they don't cancel, it automatically goes to a paid subscription. All that goes into our system, and all that flows right back into Salesforce.com for reporting purposes. Taking online credit cards. And so inside View on the panel today, we helped them out saying we were in the large businesses. We want to move towards a small business model. We want we don't want a freemium offering, but we also want a basic product. But we don't want salespeople to have to engage. We want an automatic credit card process, and we enabled them to do that. So if you click on Learn More from Inside View and click through, and eventually you get to a page where you're prompted for credit card information, all that's stored in our system in a PCI-compliant way, so you don't have credit card numbers going back and forth in faxes, credit card numbers going back and forth in email, credit cards stored in clear text inside of Salesforce.com. Your employees never have to touch credit cards. All they see is the last 4 digits, and the whole process is managed through a complete self-service environment controlled by your users. Complete ability to manage subscriptions. So if you do have a freemium model, if you do have a multiple edition model, how do you then process that? Because at Salesforce, as an example, an average rep in the corporate sales segment might be booking 15 orders a month. Only 3 to 4 orders would actually be for new customers with that initial, call it a 20-seat order, right? But everything else is an add-on order. Give me 2 extra seats. Give me 4 extra seats. Give me, they'll upgrade me from Professional Edition to Enterprise Edition. And that whole upgrade process and that whole renewal process is complicated because you have to know what do you have now What are the pricing that the customer negotiated? And when are you adding these 3 users? Are you adding in the middle of a month or the middle of a period? How do you make it coterminous with the original contract? How do you deal with prorations if you have a partial month? All that is really, really complicated. And to do it by hand really winds up blowing up your G&A cost. And to automate that is really one of the things that we do. And then finally, we push all our information back into Salesforce.com. And so if you go to the AppExchange and you see our listing on AppExchange today, you can actually one-click download that into your environment. And then we push every piece of information, every invoice, every subscription, every order, every piece of product they bought, every usage information. We push the MRR calculations, the TCV calculations. Right? So we normalize everything to an MRR value. We can see everything from a multi-year standpoint into a total contract value, the renewal information, so you have all that. We push it all into Salesforce, so you can do your dashboard reporting in Salesforce. You can do your workflow in Salesforce. You can drive your customer communications or customer campaigns in Salesforce as well, for example, based on next renewal date, based on MRR, based on products purchased. And so you get that real true closed loop system where you're invoicing your renewals and your orders are now part of your CRM application to drive a closed loop process. And best of all this is native to Force.com, and so our quoting tool so that you can have your sales rep build quotes, but not against a simple product catalog, but to build add-on quotes, renewal quotes, to understand terms and understand prorations. That's all built as a native application. All the data is pushing to Salesforce.com as a native application, and we're now working with the AppExchange team to figure out how you build commerce solutions hosted on Force.com sites, and how do you integrate that into the LMA finally for from a provisioning standpoint. And so that is a quick snapshot are the tools that we provide. So AppExchange, fantastic job of helping you drive leads, drive businesses in the front end of the process. We want to help you close that loop with a set of tools to help the monetization process with the closed loop back into Salesforce.com. And if you've got any questions, feel free to come by our booth or some of the guys from Zora, raise your hands, and some people in the back, feel free to grab one of us and find out some more. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you very much. Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Teen, for that overview of Zora. And at this point, I'd like to open it up to any of your questions that you have for the panel, for myself, for Teen, or for Ryan, our product manager, who's here with us as well. Any questions? Yes. So the question is, I'll try and repeat the questions. The question is, for the partners, what percentage of your total leads or revenue, ballpark figures, are originating on the AppExchange site?
Minus Dreamforce, because that really kind of throws the whole thing out of whack. It's 30% maybe. And that includes our product offerings as well. So the accelerators to help us drive service revenue.
And we have a standalone product that actually accounts for a much larger percentage, but just based on the launch of AppExchange, the new sites version earlier this year, our site and our number of leads have created multiple percent, like 500% higher number of leads, which has of course led to more conversions and a much higher close rate and taking up a larger percentage of our incoming top line revenue.
I'd say for us it's close to 50%.
Okay. Any other questions? I know you guys have some. We had a few people by my booth yesterday. Yes? Sure, so that's a good question. The question is, what's the cost to list on the AppExchange? The only cost that you would incur to list on the site is to go through our security review. So if your listing is a paid application, that is, it would be $5,000 for the first year and $2,500 for every subsequent year. If your listing is free, there is no charge to list on the site. Or if you're a service provider, there is no charge to list on the site as well, because Obviously, a service listing does not need to go through a security review. Your product is free. Yeah, if you're delivering a free application on the site, there is no fee associated with listing that application. So what most freemium partners do, they have a free listing and a paid listing. So for the paid listing, they do. The question, sorry, I'll repeat the question. The question was, if you're in that freemium scenario, are you still incurring a security review fee? And the answer is yes, because most partners in that situation have both a free listing and then a paid listing that people upgrade to. So obviously for the paid listing, they're going through the security review. Yes, that's correct. The question was, sorry, I got to get used to this. The question was, even if the solution is built natively on the platform, does it still need to go through a security review? And the answer is yes. Yes. If you're going to charge the customer at any point, it's not considered a free application, and you're going to have to pay the security review fee. Okay. Ryan, do you want to grab a mic just so?
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. So if you're offering a free connector between a service that you offer that is paid, that listing is not free. Customers get really, really upset. Although we've had this debate many times with partners about whether or not that thing is free, customers get incredibly incensed about that, and they will write you the worst reviews you've ever had in your life. So, do yourself a favor, call it paid, and be honest about it.
Stay out of review jail.
It is possible to provide connectors between services that you do not offer. Like, for example, if you wanted to connect together Citrix's GoToWebinar and Salesforce, and you wanted to just offer a free thing that did that, that's perfectly fine. That's free.
Okay. Yes. Sure. So I'll let Ryan actually answer this question. The question is around TrialForce, which was a feature I listed as coming out in 2010. And Ryan will comment more on that.
Yes. So let me start first of all, because I'm sure everybody doesn't know what TrialForce is. TrialForce is a program that we offer today. It allows you to participate in our OEM program, where, for example, you might have an offering that you would like to sell to customers who are not Salesforce customers. Maybe it's in a totally unrelated space. Maybe it's healthcare or something like that. And what TrialForce does is it's basically a rolled together solution of both Salesforce and your solution that can be installed as a trial through filling out a single form. And so you can have that button on your own website today. That's a service we've been offering for a while. And if you go on the partner portal, you can learn more about TrialForce. What our plans are for the AppExchange, obviously a lot of people are not system administrators. Usually in a company, there'll be one or two system administrators, and those are the people who have the real power on the AppExchange, because they're the ones who can actually install that application and really get a very, very thorough experience with it. And of course, we have lots of business users who'd like to also be able to have that experience. And so the whole purpose behind the TrialForce integration piece of the AppExchange is really to open it up to those people who do not have the correct level of privileges, for them to be able to spin up their own version of Salesforce. It's basically a separate trial. It's not their organization, but it will spin it up for them with that application installed in it, so that they can try it, they can customize it as appropriate, and see if that experience works for them. Of course, for some of our very complicated applications, like, for example, the Financial Force application, which requires certain privileges in the back end, like multi-currency and things like that, to be enabled, oftentimes that is a confusing experience for our customers in terms of a trial experience. And so they might also use the TrialForce feature to use that instead of using a test drive. because sometimes test drives are just they're not rich enough to tell people what's going on. Does that answer your question? Yes. Yeah, I mean, the plans for it right now are basically that when somebody says, I want to get this thing now, today you have two options. I want to install it into my production instance. I want to install it into my sandbox. There'll be a third option, which is I want to spin up a whole new org and use it there. You'll have to participate in the TrialForce program to enable that option on your listing. But if you have done that, then you can have that option.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Sure. So the question is how much are sponsored listings per quarter? I'd ask, we can talk offline, but I'd ask that you connect with Leslie Tom. She is the individual on our team that sells that space quarterly. But his follow-up question was also, anyone on the panel, and we do have a couple people, any of you, have you participated in sponsored listings, and what is the success you've seen with that opportunity?
So we've done both the homepage sponsorship and the search sponsorship. They both kind of, we've done a little A/B testing on them, and the homepage really increases your visibility. It drives a tremendous amount of traffic to your site just because you're right there. People click through just to check it out. The sponsored listings are great because people are searching for your specific solution. If you've got the right keywords in your listing, you're going to pop up. So both of them have been very, very successful in really giving us that multi-percentage increase in our number of leads and traffic onto our site.
We've been doing homepage sponsorships now for about 5 or 6 months, and it has made an enormous difference for us as well. It has driven significantly more traffic and great conversions. We've been pushing them to our free product, and then of course hopefully we get the freemium conversions.
Great. Any last questions? Okay, well, I'd like to thank you again all for attending. I'd like to thank my panel, and I'd love to thank Teen as well for participating today, and Ryan for his help with Q&A. Have a great Thursday and enjoy the Day 2 keynote. Thanks.